We all know the wonderful Mac stereo products that go back decades, but they actually do so much more. Mac is also a great solution in the worlds of home theater and in distributed audio. Joining me is a very good friend of mine from the industry. This is Evan Grimm. He is the Senior Manager of Sales with McIntosh Group. In other words, he's a big deal. Evan, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, Luke.
We're going to dive into this entire line, but you guys know the drill. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, and you know a lot of cool content's on the way. So, now then, Evan, let's start and talk about the MI series first.
Yeah, so this is kind of like our older top flight processor, the MX160. We now have an MX180 out, which has been upgraded to 8K. We have our MC257, which is our top flight 7-channel home theater power amp. Then we also have two of the 2U rack mountable new MI254 amps, which are driving the Atmos in this theater, and then the height level surrounds.
The thing with Class D amps is over the years, they haven't always been seen in the best light. Now, I think that's been changing, and especially if it's going to have McIntosh's name on it. But why?
Well, the cool thing about our new 2U rack mountable and 3U rack mountable digital amps is that they have a lot of the McIntosh feature set that's built into like our flagship Class AB models, such as Sentry Monitor for short circuit protection, which is fuseless, as well as Power Guard, so there's no clipping, which was really one of the traditionally worst problems that Class D digital amps had. Most speakers traditionally today are 4 ohms, especially in the bass. So you'll actually find that this amp is capable of doing 300 watts per channel simultaneously into all 4 channels, and it has over 3 dB of headroom, meaning it'll double its power on peaks. Before it would run out of power, it would activate Power Guard, so there's no clipping.
So that's a pretty impressive feature set.
Super.
Yeah, I remember you telling me a story a while back about a certain company who we won't mention, but their marketing claimed that you could get absurd amounts of power out of a product, but when you put it under a microscope, it was complete and total phooey. So McIntosh is promising us all day, every day, what you claim that rating is, right?
Yeah, it's certainly the case. Like when you look at, it doesn't matter if it's one of our digital amps or one of our Class AB amps, like what we put on paper is certainly true. There are multi-channel amps out there, multi-channel AVRs, where the way that they're rating their power on paper, it's really like one channel driven at limited bandwidth at limited power. We're truly full power, full bandwidth, all channels driven simultaneously at the measured distortion.
So Mac is always being straight shooters.
Exactly.
Beyond just being a great home theater amp or maybe height or Atmos channel amp, this is going to work well in the world of DA as well, or distributed audio.
Oh, goodness gracious, yes. So the 254 could power 2 stereo zones for distributed audio. It could do 4 channels in mono. Like you said, it could be Atmos or just surround height level speakers. If somebody's kind of on I want a McIntosh but don't have this much space in my cabinet, I could actually use this 254 as a 2-channel amp and just use it as a biamp amp. Then you have the 347, which is really a 7-channel 3U rack mountable amp from us that's really geared for home theater specifically. And then the 2 most versatile amps in the product portfolio as it stands today are the MI128 and the MI1250. The list goes on and on. It's capable of a lot. So the Class AB amp stuff is awesome. I mean, we're using, excellent transistors, and we're using massive heat sinks to ensure that the transistors run cool to guarantee long life.
And given that these are very much like their stereo brethren, I'm imagining their lifespan is that McIntosh legendary lifespan.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. But there's a ton of different ways that you could configure a McIntosh home theater with amplifiers, right? So you could do 5 channels, MC255, or you could up it to 7 channels and utilize the MC257 or the 8207. We also have a really cool amp called the MC303, which is a Class AB amp with output autoformers. So it's 300 watts in a 2, 4, or 8, right? And from there, you'd either go with maybe 611s for the left, center, right, and then from there it's kind of a ton of options.
So really, this is in the world of power amps and home theater, and of course with stereo too, but all of it, you can just do whatever you want, or whatever space, budget, or the need of your room and speakers require.
Exactly. So the MX180 is our flagship. It has 16 channels, and one of the coolest feature sets, in my opinion, is the room perfect calibration. So we do have a 2-channel room perfect device called an MEN220, which is phenomenal for compensating for weird anomalies in rooms, like an all glass window wall or like vaulted ceilings or something like that. It really
Goofy bass modes and
it certainly helps out with soundstage and imaging, so that you as the listener, depending on the way your room is configured and where you're seated, is getting the best possible imaging in a theater. And then we also have our new MX100, which is a very cool, like my first McIntosh processor type processor, or
Gotcha.
maybe for folks that don't have a dedicated home theater. The MX100 is a lot like the MX123, but it forgoes the legacy support, and it has fewer inputs and it has fewer digital inputs.
So it's made of the same stuff as in the same quality. It's just slimmer.
Exactly.
And speaking of that MX100, I actually have that in my Columbia location,
Awesome.
which I'm going to go over and show you guys now. But first, Evan, thank you so much for
My
being
pleasure.
here.
Thank you.
One of the best guys I like working with in the industry, so it's been
Likewise,
a pleasure.
Luke. Thanks for having me.
So, taking a closer look at the MX100 here, you can see just how slim of a unit this is. It's got to be one of the smallest AV processors I've ever seen. And it sounds awesome in this room, especially on these Sonettos. And you'll notice that we're playing Dolby Atmos content as we speak. This can do Atmos, DTS, all of the latest standards, and even still features Audizy room correction. And then of course, we have it paired up with the MI347. This is a 7-channel version of the MI series Class D amps, specifically designed to be really good for home theater use. Why? Because it's a perfect 7 channels. There's your 7 floor channels right there. And this whole stack, while being ever so slightly larger than an AV receiver when you put it together, not bad at all, has way more clarity, much greater quality, and the amplifier has way more power. And that really is the gist of everything that we have to offer in this great world of McIntosh for home theater or custom installation solutions. I'm really glad that you guys could stop by today. This one was a little bit different and it was definitely fun. And the best part was having Evan. So Evan, thanks again, man, for being here. It was awesome teaming up with you. I hope all you guys enjoyed. And if you have any questions about McIntosh, please visit the website at gramophone.com or give us a call at one of the showrooms. Whether that's Timonium, Columbia, or Gaithersburg, we'd love to answer any questions you might have and actually show this stuff to you. Come hear it. And of course, don't forget our Kitchen Design Center in Hunt Valley. Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to ask me any questions you have as well in the comment section. Be seeing you.